A Wendigo is a supernatural being from the legends of the Algonquin First Nations, described as malevolent spirits resembling a human with animal features, antlers, and sharp teeth. It is said that humans transform into Wendigos because of their greed or weaknesses, powerful monsters that consume human flesh. Hey Ocean Crew, welcome back for a brand new episode of Movie Reviews and Munchies, where I review my favorite movies every Monday on this channel. Hi guys, how's it going? I hope you guys had a great weekend. I did, very relaxing, got lots of stuff done. Today I'm going to be reviewing the film Wendigo from 2001. It was my daughter's suggestion and it was a good one. I think it fits our little theme that we've got going on here. First, let's get into our snack. So I found these really amazing, cool field roast mini corn dogs. Look at those. I put mustard on them already. Yum! And what's perfect about them is I could do them up in the air fryer. So any excuse to use my new air fryer and I'm on it. So let's give them a try, shall we? All right, they're still kind of hot. Mmm, so good. Look at that. Yum, 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 yum. Mmm. Wow, those are amazing. That's dangerous because I could eat a lot of those. Yum. Oh, I highly recommend those. They're all vegan too. You know, when I was a kid, my mom and dad, as a reward for finishing school and passing all my classes, they would take me to the fair that would come to town once a year. And I loved that time in my life. Very good memories. And my mom would always let me get a corn dog, a cotton candy, and a candy apple. I would take most of it home for afterwards, but those are the things that I got to have after I was done riding the rides and we were done at the fair. Such a great memory. And eating these, I'm thinking, I think I might do a Ocean Chicks Kitchen episode with all carnival food, but veganized. I think that would be pretty cool. Mmm. So delicious. I could keep eating these forever. So you guys grab your snack and let's get settled in and talk about this movie. Wendigo from 2001 is an American independent psychological horror film that follows a photographer named George and his family who experience a dark force at a cabin while vacationing in upstate New York in the winter. They are terrorized by a local hunter after accidentally hitting a deer on the road. Directed by Larry Fessenden, starring Patricia Clarkson and Jake Weber. All right, so when I first started watching this movie, and it's on Tubi if you guys want to check it out, if you haven't seen it already, it's from 2001, but it gave me so many vibes of Wolfen. You remember that movie? I did a review on that one too. If you want to, you can check that out in my videos. Because Wendigo was filmed in Upper New York and Wolfen was filmed in New York too, and I'm pretty sure they had kind of similar storylines going on. All right, so Wendigo starts with this small family get into their car. There's a mom, there's a dad, and there's a young boy, probably about 8 years old. They get into the car and they're driving in the winter to this kind of cabin in the woods. It's actually kind of a beautiful old two-story house, but they're going to stay there for the weekend to get away from the big city and their jobs and all of that, to get a break and do some family time. As they're driving along this road, they are talking and joking and laughing, and they hit a deer. And it's a deer that has these really big antlers, and it rolls up and flips over the car and lands. They stop the car. They go out really fast to check to see if what's happened. The deer's kind of very, very injured, not able to move. The car doesn't have too much damage, just a little bit. And then out of the woods come these hunters that have been hunting deer, and really quickly one of them pulls out his gun and shoots the deer, finishes it off. Everybody's freaked out by the whole thing. It all happened so fast. The mom comes rushing out and starts screaming at the hunter like, how could you do that so close to the car? My kid's here. It's all really traumatic. They set off on the wrong foot with these group of hunters that are obviously locals to the area. They then call for a tow truck. They're waiting for that. These guys hitch them up to their truck to pull them out of the ditch, and just kind of do it. And the dad's like, what are you doing? And the guy's like, you could give me some money for helping you. The guy's like, we already called the tow truck company, like you shouldn't have done that. The mom just jumps out and gets in the middle and says, here, here's some cash, get the hell away, go, see ya. And then tells the dad to, let's just go. The tow truck company comes. There's kind of a little bit of bickering going on between them and the hunters. They continue on driving, thinking, okay, nobody's hurt. We're all okay. We're fine. Let's just keep going to where we're going. They drive up to the big old house. They get settled in. It's really cold inside. And almost immediately the dad notices that there's a bullet hole in the window going straight through the living room to the back wall. And he finds the bullet still in the wall. And he's a little bit freaked out, but he doesn't tell anybody that he's seen this. And, the little boy's still very traumatized by the deer being killed. He's like a little future vegan. That's what he is. And he can't get over the fact that the deer was killed, or that hunters would actually go and hunt deer, because he'd never heard of that before, being a city kid. So they try to calm him down, get him settled. They have dinner, they get cozy, they go to bed. And, being the little boy that he is, he grabs this storybook about Wendigo and he starts reading it when he's supposed to be sleeping at night. He reads it, freaks out, ends up having horrible nightmares in the evening, of course, because of all of this trauma that he's experienced and his love for animals. And the next morning, they're having breakfast, and the little boy has been drawing pictures of the things that he's seeing. So the deer and the hunter, and his dad's a professional photographer in New York, and he's drawing pictures of his dad with a camera. And then they decide, okay, well, we need to get some more supplies, so we'll head to town to go check that out today. So they get in the car and they head to town, and they go and find this sort of pharmacy slash grocery store, an all-purpose kind of store. They go in, and the mom's looking around. The dad says he'll meet them back there with the car. And the little boy wanders off into the store by himself, and he meets this man, this First Nations man, who starts to talk to him and shows him this little carved sculpture of a Wendigo and says, do you know what this is? And he said no, and he tells him the story of the Wendigo, what they're all about, and how, they're sort of these humanoid kind of like creatures that are part animal with antlers and part human, and they can transform and shapeshift into anything they want. They grow giant, and they're kind of evil spirits. They tend to go after humans that are very much wrapped up in greed, and horrible people that are living selfishly. They tend to go after them and feed on them. And that makes the Wendigo creature even taller and stronger by doing that. But they have this insatiable hunger for, humans, and they never stop. They kind of never stop consuming. And the little boy is kind of a little bit intrigued but freaked out, and the guy says, okay, here, you can have this little carving, you take it with you. So he takes it and he walks to the counter with his mom, and his mom says, what do you have there? And he says, a man gave me this, he said I could have it. And the lady at the counter says, I'm the only one that works here, there are no men here, there's nobody else here but me. And so the mom's like, okay. She said, well, how much do you want for this carving? And the lady goes, $5. And she's like, well, $5, wow, how about 3? And the lady says 4. So she says, fine, here's $4, you can have it. And then they leave the store, get back into the car to head back to home. So back at the house, the mom and dad are kind of going through this room. They see this room's all full of like antlers and pictures of deer and things like that, and they think that's kind of a strange hobby, strange collection, kind of thing. I guess it's adding to the ambiance of the movie. So then they start to talk together about what the town was, that this town used to be an older town that was actually flooded with water, and all the people were displaced because, you know, the city of New York decided they would use that as their water source. And then there was a smaller town kind of around it built. So there's all this ancient sort of, you know, city town underneath all of this that people were moved from. So there's a lot of, you know, kind of negative energy in that area, and they're thinking that that could be part of the reason why the hunters were giving them such a hard time, because they see them as city folks that are taking their resources and that kind of thing. Mom and dad have a little bit of a tiff because they're the husband's doing like work over the phone, and he's not taking a break, and he kind of accuses her of the same thing. And you know, she kind of says, go take the little boy sledding, because, you know, you're supposed to be out here getting closer to him. We're supposed to be a family unit, kind of spending time together. So he says, okay, I'll do this one last phone call, let's get ready, and then let's go. So they get to the hill, they're seemingly having a really good time. Mom's at home at the cabin, and the dad and the little boy jump on the sled and start to go down the hill, and boom, they go flying off. There's all kinds of chaos, there's blood dripping. The kid veers off into a tree, gets knocked out, and it's nighttime. And then the mom is rushing, and she finds the little boy, and she's like, what happened? Why are you here? Where's dad? So they go looking for dad, and they eventually find him, and he's been shot. So obviously, you know, one of the hunters. So the mom grabs the little boy and runs towards the next house, which happens to be some of the hunters that are there out back. And they're slaughtering all these animals, and it's just really awful. But anyways, they see that, and they're even more horrified, and they're trying desperately to figure out how to get an ambulance, you know, to get the dad to the hospital, and they're having not any help. So they run back to him, they get him, he's conscious at this point, and he says, no, don't worry about an ambulance, let's just get me back to the house, we're not that far away, get me in the truck and you drive me there. So she does, and eventually they get to the hospital they've called. In the meantime, the hospital is waiting for them. They rush him out, get him into the ER, and the little boy is really freaked out, and so is the mom, and she's trying to reassure him that everything's going to be okay. And the sheriff comes to the hospital, because she called the sheriff too. She says her story, and he says, okay, well, I know this main hunter guy that we had that they were fighting with. He knows him. His name's Otis. So he said he's lived here, you know, his whole life. I'll get down to the bottom of it. And he said he used to live in that house that you live in when he was a kid. So that kind of horrified the mother. So he leaves. They look after the dad. He goes over to Otis's house and knocks on the door, and Otis realizes that you're not just taking me in for questioning to solve things. This is bad because this guy's in the hospital, but kind of almost making like, I didn't do, what is this? I didn't do anything, but nobody's going to believe me. So finally convinces him to go to the jail with him to, you know, put in a statement and kind of figure everything out. Goes in to get his coat, comes back out and whacks the sheriff with a hammer and kills him. And after that, Otis runs through the bush to the road, and he sees the Wendigo, and he freaks out, you know, and a cop car, the backup team that was supposed to come to help the sheriff was coming, and they hit him, you know, injuring him really badly. So they scoop him up and bring him to the hospital really quickly. And just before that, I'm not going to tell you what happens, because I'm not going to spoil the ending for you. You'll have to watch it to go see it, but it was good. This movie I thought was good. You know, it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but it was pretty good. It was fun to watch. I think it's an enjoyable story to follow if you want to watch it. It's on Tubi, like I said. The message behind it is kind of like the hunter being hunted, back by the animals. So I thought that was a cool message to share on this channel, seeing as that's kind of the theme that we always follow. It's also a movie about greed destroying you, destroying your family, destroying the planet and the animals and that kind of thing. And I thought that was an intriguing message as well. I really love the story of the Wendigo too. I think it's a very, very interesting legend to kind of learn about and kind of put into your, you know, your faith, like how things are, how the world works. I really like that idea. So they did a good job on that. The movie was from 2001, which is quite a while ago, and even for that time, it was pretty good. There were other movies that are kind of better than that. There were some parts that I feel like they didn't explore far enough or tie together, and the story, the acting, all of that was good, but there were some sort of fantasy shots and things that were kind of hokey, a little bit corny. They could have been played out better. I think in that case, it's always better to kind of imply things so that the viewer can kind of, you know, figure stuff out on their own rather than showing all of it. But to be fair, at that time, they didn't have all the technology that we have nowadays for filming. And, you know, it's a lot harder if you don't have a huge budget. This was an independent film as well. You know, that you can't do all of that splash. I think now how, you know, spoiled we are. We have these drones. You can easily do a drone shot instead of having the cranes and all of that they have to use. You know, and the editing technology that we have now too, and the CGI and all of that makes it really different. So I think it was a really good film. I think it was well done. The actors are certainly very well known. Patricia Clarkson played the mom, Kim. She's been in lots of stuff. Jake Weber, he played the dad, George, and the little boy, Eric Persullivan, I think I'm saying that right, played Miles. And he's been in lots of stuff too. So Patricia was in things like The Green Mile, The Untouchables, Jumanji, tons and tons of other stuff. I'm sure you've seen her before. And Jake, I remember most from the show called Medium. I love that show. And also from Dawn of the Dead, one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So you've seen him in that, and I'm sure you've seen him elsewhere too. And the younger boy, Eric, he was from, I'm sure everyone knows, Malcolm in the Middle. That was a good show too. The film was written and directed by Larry Fessenden. He actually founded an independent production company in New York called Glass Eye Pix. He's also an actor too, so he's been in lots of stuff, and you know, he's directed other projects as well, produced things. What I remember him from is the movie Session 9, which I absolutely loved. I thought that was such a cool film. I want to watch it again. So I give this movie 3 shark bites because I thought it was good. And once again, I think it really reminded me of the movie Wolfen, but I think I really liked Wolfen. I thought that was much better. You want to check that out, then check out my review as well on Wolfen. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if you liked this video, please make sure you give us a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and join the Ocean crew. We'd love to have you. I'll see you again on Wednesday. I've got an amazing cooking video all ready to go. So I'm gonna say bye guys. I'll see you again on Wednesday.